All right, it's Politics Monday here on The Current. We are starting this week in Springfield. We're entering the final few weeks of the legislative session here in Illinois, and lawmakers still have plenty more to get done. So joining us now with all things Illinois politics is Capitol News Illinois State House reporter Ben Zielinski. Ben, thank you so much for joining us here again. We are nearing the end of the legislative session, and you said in a recent interview that the mood around Springfield was anxious. What did you mean by that? And I'm guessing, does it have something to do with the budget?
It does. Deadlines are coming, and there's a lot of big challenges facing the state of Illinois this year. We're entering the final month of the spring session here, and obviously topping all these challenges is the budget. Now, going into this spring session, we had expected that there was going to be about a $3 billion deficit. The governor has proposed a budget that would make up that deficit, but now the key is actually getting that across the finish line. And one of the big issues last year was a lot of Democrats were pretty unhappy with the budget that was passed. There was minimal votes on the budget. So this year, some of the same challenges are being faced, but there's potentially less support from Democrats, especially as the governor has cut out a couple of key programs from the state budget this year in order to help balance it. So reaching that May 31st deadline to pass a budget seems to be the biggest challenge, giving a lot of folks anxiety right now, especially with the vote count uncertain, especially before the threshold to pass a budget, the number of votes raises on June 1st.
Yeah, a month is going to fly by. And one of the issues that people are really concerned about when it comes to the budget proposal is DSP funding. I mean, Governor Pritzker's proposal includes a cut to the state-funded direct support personnel, DSPs. So what are DSPs and what are people that are against these cuts asking for?
Right. So DSP workers, they are caregivers of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and advocates want these workers to be paid 150% of the minimum wage, which is $15 an hour here in Illinois. The plan proposed in this year's state budget would bring that wage up to $21 an hour, which would be about 140% of the state minimum wage. But this is one of those kind of perennial issues that we see around the state house. This has certainly been an issue for quite a few years, that these workers don't think they're being paid enough for this work. They received a small wage increase in recent years, but a lot of this funding comes from the state. So going back to those budget issues, it's a big ask to ask state lawmakers right now to potentially allocate tens of millions of dollars more than they have in previous years with such a tight budget and so many competing priorities.
Well, in the middle of such a tough budget year, the Illinois Attorney General is asking for a $15 million increase to his office. So what does he want all this money for, and is it looking like he'll get it?
Yeah, Attorney General Kwame Raoul, he's just obviously the latest person in line for a funding increase request. So he wants this $15 million to do a whole bunch of things. The chief thing that he really wants is that he says his office is kind of having their resources stretched. The Illinois Attorney General has engaged the Trump administration in quite a few lawsuits. I think it's about 12 at this point. And that's obviously straining their manpower and their ability to continue doing this legal work, continue to fight other cases that the Attorney General is responsible for. Kwame Raoul, he says that they have a lot of other mandates that state lawmakers have put on them in recent years. So they need more money because the amount of money that the Attorney General's office is getting back from the settlements that they win is not enough to continue to fund expanding the office. So they say that this is really critical in order to keep doing the work that they're doing right now.
Okay, so what are you hearing? Is this something that seems realistic?
It's a good question. Obviously, it's a big priority for Illinois Democrats. Governor Pritzker certainly is happy with the work the Attorney General's office is doing, continuing to push back against the Trump administration. And there's certainly an argument to be made that he's actually saving the state a whole lot of money by continuing to win federal funds back with court orders blocking various actions that the president's taken. But whether $15 million is ultimately what gets landed on here, it's still almost too early to know.
Yeah, well, really quickly, Ben, before I let you go, the biggest news to come out of last week, and we're not talking budgets here, Senator Dick Durbin, the #2 Democrat in the Senate, announcing his upcoming retirement. I mean, we already know the lieutenant governor has announced that she is going to be running for the Democrats. But there's someone else that people have their eye on the Republican side that is from one of our local representatives. Tell me what you were hearing about Representative Darren LaHood.
Yeah, we know that Darren LaHood is at least interested in running. He's a congressman from Peoria. He would probably be one of the more formidable Republicans on that side of the aisle to actually run for this office. So it still seems to be a little early for some of these candidates who are trying to feel out if this race is right for them. It's obviously a substantial amount of resources, and one of the big risks for somebody like Darren LaHood, if he does run and doesn't win that election, is he wouldn't be back in Congress in his current seat. So he's certainly considering this race. He's raised a lot of money compared to many other Illinois Republicans. And he's got a very long track record of representing a good portion of this state. So we'll see if he ultimately decides to run or not.
And of course, people watching at home, even though Darren is based out of Peoria, he covers large swaths of our viewing area, including parts of even Henry County, Illinois. Ben, thank you so much, as always, for your reporting.
Thanks, Shelby.
For you guys at home, you can catch all of Ben and the rest of CNI team's reporting up at WQAD.com underneath the As Seen on TV tab at the top of the homepage.